How's it going, everyone? This is GWR Studios, and today we are going to be finding some more goofs in Thomas and Friends. Today's episode is Tenders and Turntables. I hope you enjoy it. Alright, so at the beginning of the episode, we see Henry and Gordon upset in the sheds. Ever since Thomas left to run his branch line, Henry, James, and Gordon had to fetch their own coaches.
They had more work to do and had to fetch their own coaches.
This made the engines very cross. They didn't want to shunt their own coaches, they wanted Thomas to do it for them. The engines were causing a lot of trouble for Sir Topham Hatt, and here's where I saw the first goof. If we look at the brim of Sir Topham Hatt's hat, we can see 2 chips in it. To make matters worse, the engines had to use a turntable in order to switch directions. Tank engines like Thomas don't need turntables, but tender engines do because it's dangerous for them to go fast backwards. And here's the next goof. The back of Sir Topham Hatt's car is missing its paint. The tender engines think that they're too important to shunt coaches, and they really want Thomas to come back. Later on, Gordon meets Thomas at a junction. Gordon tells Thomas that tender engines have a position to keep up, and they're more important than tank engines.
It doesn't matter where you go, but we are important.
And here's another goof. If we look at Gordon's left buffer, we can see that it's crooked. Gordon then steamed away, and Thomas laughed to himself. One windy afternoon, Gordon goes to the turntable to turn around. The turntable was located in a windy area near the sea, and because of this, it was hard for Gordon to stop in the right place. To make matters even worse, Gordon was in a bad mood, and it was extremely windy.
His driver tried to make him stop in the right place, but Gordon wasn't trying.
The firemen tried to turn the handle, but the wind was just way too strong.
It's no good, they said at last. Your big tender upsets the balance.
Because they couldn't flip Gordon around, he had no choice but to pull his train backwards. When Gordon arrives at the junction, some boys tease him and call him a tank engine.
There's a new tank engine. Oh, it's only Gordon.
Thomas teases Gordon by telling him to scrap his tender and get a nice bunker.
Scrap your tender and have a nice bunker.
But Gordon was embarrassed and he said nothing. Even James laughed at Gordon. But hang on a second. James's brake coach is backwards.
Laughed when he saw him.
Gordon warns James to be careful on the turntable, but James isn't worried.
I'm not so fat as you.
When James arrived at the sheds, he was very careful getting on the turntable. He positioned himself on the turntable so that it would be easy to move. But look at James's dome. It still has all those scratches on it. And here comes a goof that I can hardly believe I found. Look at James's paint job. Do you see what I see in the reflection? It's one of the crew members that made the TV show. We can clearly see his face and arm in the reflection. Not an easy goof to find. But anyway, James is on the turntable and he thinks he has everything under control. But then the wind starts to pick up and Gordon puffs in just in time. He sees James spinning on the turntable, but as the winds pick up, James spins like a top. There was nothing James could do. The wind was blowing way too hard. At last, James came to a stop. Gordon saw everything.
Well, well, said Gordon. Are you playing roundabouts?
But James was too embarrassed, and he puffed quickly into the shed. Wait a minute. When the turntable stopped spinning, it led to the farthest shed to the right. But when James backs up, it leads to the middle shed. James was so embarrassed. That night, the engines had a meeting.
Gordon has to go backwards, and people think he's a tank engine. James spins round like a top, and everyone laughs at us.
But then, Gordon had an idea.
Listen, said Gordon.
Gordon whispers to the other engines his idea.
The engines had decided to go on strike.
Alright guys, so those were all the goofs that I found in Tenders and Turntables. There weren't too many goofs in this episode. But having said that, if you saw a goof that I didn't point out, please leave a comment below and let me know. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great day.